Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into a language that has this huge reputation for being, well, pretty tough. But what if I told you that Finnish, with all its super long words, is actually one of the most logical and, honestly, kind of playful languages you could learn? Okay, let's get right into it.
So, take a look at these words on the screen. If you've never seen Finnish before, they probably look a little intimidating. You're probably thinking, there is no way I could figure those out without a dictionary. But what if the clues to what they mean were hiding right there in plain sight?
Because, and trust me on this, it really is so much simpler than you think. There's this beautiful, logical system working behind the scenes. See, Finnish doesn't want you to just memorize a bunch of random words. It wants you to play. And that is the secret, the big reveal. Finnish works just like Legos. You learn a few basic, essential blocks, and then you just start snapping them together to build bigger, cooler, more complex ideas. It's a language of construction, not memorization.
And to prove it to you, we're going to build everything we need to make one single virtual phone call. From the word for the phone itself to what you say when things, inevitably go wrong. Ready? Let's start with the very first block.
So obviously, before you can make a call, you're going to need a phone. And what's so cool is that in Finnish, the word for phone literally tells you exactly what it is and what it does. This breaks it down just perfectly. You start with the root verb puhua, which means to speak. Then Finnish has this handy little suffix in, which often means a tool for doing something. So you snap them together and what do you get? A tool for speaking becomes puhelin, a telephone. See? It's not some random word, it's a description. It's a blueprint.
Okay, so we have our very first Lego block, puhelin. Now let's see how this thing connects. We're going to start snapping it onto other blocks to make brand new ideas. This is where the fun really starts.
And this is just a beautiful illustration of that logic. If you know puhelin is a telephone, and you learn that luettelo is a list or a catalog, what do you think you get when you stick them together? Puhelin luettelo, a telephone list, or what we would just call a telephone book. It's simple word math.
Let's try another one. First, you'll notice that puhelu with an u on the end means a call, which is just a little shift from puhelin, the tool itself. Now the word for distant is kauko. The source for this gave a great little way to remember this. Just picture a cow way, way off in the distance. A distant cow. So a kauko puhelu is a distant call, a long-distance call. It just clicks.
And we can take this logic even further. How would you build the word for an international call? Well, first you'd need the word for a foreign country, which is olkoma. But get this, that's a compound word too. Olko means outer, and ma means land. So an outer land call becomes an olkoman puhelu, an international call. You see how the system just keeps scaling up? It's awesome.
Okay, so you've made your call, but life happens. Sometimes the connection is terrible, or you dial the wrong person. Well, Finnish has some really elegant, buildable solutions for that stuff too. Let's dive into the phrases you're going to need when your call just hits a snag. And this is where knowing those building blocks becomes super, super useful in a real situation.
So if the line is all crackly and cutting out, you'd say huono yhteys. That just means a bad connection. A really fun way to remember huono for bad is to think to yourself, who knows why this connection is so bad? And yhteys is the connection. Simple, direct, done.
And what if a total stranger picks up the phone? Väärä numero. Väärä means wrong, and numero, well, that's one of those fantastic words that's pretty much identical to English number. Wrong number. Super easy.
If you get that annoying fast beeping sound, it means linja on varattu. The line is busy. The keyword to lock in here is varattu, which means reserved or taken. Just think of a sign on a hotel room that's no longer vacant. It's now varattu. The line is taken. Makes perfect sense. All right, so you've dialed, but nobody's picking up. It's time to leave a message. This next step is going to introduce us to a slightly different but still totally logical piece of Finnish grammar. You get sent a voicemail and you hear this. Jätä viesti äänimerkin jälkeen. It means leave a message after the tone. Let's break down that last part because it shows off a really cool feature of the language. So here's the key difference. In English, we put words like after our prepositions before the noun. We say after the tone. But in Finnish, these words are often postpositions. They come after the thing they're talking about. So äänimerkki is the tone, and jälkeen is after. You literally say tone after. It's just a different order for the blocks, but the logic is still there, 100%. We've covered the basics, how to troubleshoot, even how to leave a message.
But let's look at what might be the most important call you'd ever need to make. And let's see how our building block system holds up under pressure.
In Finland, the emergency number is 112. The phrase you'd need is hätätilanteessa valitse 112. The root word here is hätä, which means emergency or distress. Tilanne means situation. Put them together, and hätätilanteessa means in an emergency situation. So even in the most critical moment imaginable, the language is built from these clear, logical parts.
And just look at that. In just a few minutes, you haven't just been memorizing phrases. You've been learning the system behind them. You've kind of become a little bit of a Finnish language architect. So let's do a super quick review to see what you've built.
Okay, pop quiz. You're on a call. The sound is awful. It keeps cutting out. What's that phrase you would use for a bad connection? Think back to that troubleshooting part.
Yes, that's it. Huono yhteys. You remembered huono was bad and yhteys was connection. You didn't just recall it from memory, you actually reconstructed it. You put the blocks together.
And that right there is the whole key. You've seen how to speak becomes a tool for speaking. How outer land plus call becomes international call. You've learned the system. So the real question isn't just about what you learned today. It's about what comes next. Now that you know the secret, what other Finnish words can you build?